I'm Elena Johnson, and at 52, I thought I'd heard every cry for help Newark strays could offer. But this tabby's plea hit me differently as I walked past Seaside Brew Cafe that spring morning. The injured cat's voice echoed in my mind with desperate clarity: broken ribs, infection spreading, time running out. My gift had been both blessing and curse for 3 decades. Most people thought animal communication was new age nonsense, so I kept my veterinary consultation work quiet. Today, though, hearing this cat's pain made secrecy impossible. I knelt beside the trembling feline, my silver-streaked brunette hair falling forward as I examined her wounds. Blood matted her orange fur, and her green eyes reflected the same exhaustion I'd felt lately. Living alone in my Ocean View apartment studio had grown lonelier each year. "Someone call a vet," I whispered to passing pedestrians, but they hurried past with typical urban indifference. "I'm a doctor." The voice belonged to a stunning blonde woman rushing from the hospital across the street. Her white coat flapped open, revealing scrubs that couldn't hide her athletic build. Those warm brown eyes held genuine concern as she dropped beside me without hesitation. "Vanessa Lewis, internal medicine," she introduced herself, already pulling medical supplies from her bag. "What happened to her?" "Hit by a car, I think." She's scared, in pain. I found myself staring at this young woman's gentle hands as she examined the cat. Something about her presence calmed both the animal and my own racing heart. "You're right about the fear. Animals sense kindness, though." Vanessa's fingers worked expertly, cleaning wounds with practiced precision. "She trusts you." Our hands brushed as we both reached to steady the cat. The contact sent unexpected warmth through my entire body, a feeling I'd forgotten existed. Vanessa's touch lingered longer than necessary, her eyes meeting mine with unmistakable interest. "I'm Elena," I managed, hoping my voice didn't betray the sudden flutter in my chest. Beautiful name for someone with such caring instincts. Her smile transformed her face from merely pretty to absolutely radiant. "This little lady needs proper treatment, but she'll survive thanks to you finding her." The tabby purred weakly, and I heard her gratitude mixed with something else: hope. Not just for healing, but for the connection forming between her 2 rescuers. Animals always sensed things humans missed. "Will you help me get her to the animal clinic?" Vanessa asked, already cradling the cat carefully. I nodded, unable to speak past the strange lightness filling my chest. At my age, I shouldn't feel this way about a stranger, especially one young enough to be my daughter. But as we walked together toward the veterinary clinic, the tabby cat purring softly between us, I couldn't deny the attraction pulling me toward this compassionate young doctor. Something told me this chance encounter would change everything. 3 days passed before I worked up the courage to return to Seaside Brew Cafe. The tabby, now named Ginger by the veterinary staff, was recovering beautifully, but I couldn't stop thinking about Vanessa's warm brown eyes, or the electricity I'd felt when our hands touched. I ordered my usual black coffee and claimed the corner table where I could watch the hospital entrance. Pathetic behavior for a woman my age, but I couldn't help myself. Something about that young doctor had awakened feelings I'd buried years ago. "Elena?" I turned to find Vanessa approaching with a bright smile, her blonde hair catching the morning sunlight streaming through the cafe windows. She'd traded her medical scrubs for fitted jeans and a cream sweater that accentuated her curves perfectly. "Mind if I join you?" she asked, gesturing to the empty chair across from me. "Please." My voice sounded steadier than I felt. She settled gracefully into the seat, her coffee cup steaming between her hands. "I checked on Ginger yesterday. She's doing wonderfully, almost ready for adoption." "That's wonderful news." I studied Vanessa's face, noting the genuine joy in her expression. "You really care about animals." "Always have. Growing up, I wanted to be a veterinarian before switching to human medicine." She leaned forward slightly. "But you have something special with animals. The way Ginger responded to you was remarkable." My stomach tightened. This was always the moment people either grew uncomfortable or dismissed me entirely. I have a gift for understanding them. Understanding how. Her tone held curiosity rather than skepticism, encouraging me to continue. "I can hear their thoughts, feel their emotions. Communication beyond what most people experience." Vanessa's eyes widened, but not with the fear or mockery I expected. Instead, fascination lit her features. "That's incredible. How long have you had this ability? Since childhood. Most people think I'm crazy when I tell them. I searched her face for signs of doubt. I don't think you're crazy at all. She reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. I've seen too many unexplained recoveries in medicine to dismiss anything that helps healing. The contact sent familiar warmth through my body, stronger this time. Vanessa's touch lingered, her thumb tracing gentle circles across my knuckles. The intimacy of the gesture made my breath catch. Elena, she said softly, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. Would you have dinner with me tonight? My heart hammered against my ribs. This beautiful young woman was asking me on a date, something that seemed impossible just a week ago. The age difference, the complications, all the reasons this was wrong battled against the longing I felt. Vanessa, I'm 22 years older than you. And I'm 30 years old, perfectly capable of knowing what I want. Her grip on my hand tightened. I felt something when we helped Ginger together. Didn't you? I nodded, unable to deny the truth any longer. She smiled, leaning closer until I could smell her subtle perfume. Then let's explore it. Before I could second-guess myself, she stood and moved around the table. Her hand cupped my cheek as she leaned down, her lips brushing mine in the softest kiss. It lasted only seconds, but the tenderness behind it made my entire world shift. 7 o'clock? She whispered against my lips. Yes, I breathed, my resolve crumbling completely. As she walked away, I touched my lips where hers had been, knowing there was no turning back from whatever this was becoming. Dinner lasted 3 hours but felt like minutes. Vanessa chose an intimate Italian restaurant where candlelight danced across her features, making her even more beautiful than I'd imagined possible. We talked about everything, her medical residency dreams, my journey discovering, animal communication, the loneliness we'd both carried for too long. You're not what I expected, I admitted over dessert, watching her laugh at my story about a particularly dramatic Persian cat. What did you expect? Someone who'd run screaming when I mentioned talking to animals. Her hand found mine across the table. I deal with life and death every day, Elena. Magic feels refreshing. 2 weeks later, our casual coffee meetings had evolved into something deeper. Vanessa started bringing me complex veterinary cases from her rotations, seeking my insights into animal behavior. Her colleagues thought she'd developed remarkable intuitive skills, never suspecting the truth. This German Shepherd won't let anyone near him, she explained one afternoon, showing me photographs on her phone. Injured in an accident, but he's aggressive with every staff member. I studied the dog's eyes in the picture. He's protecting something. Not aggression, fear, someone he loves is missing. His owner died in the crash. Vanessa's voice softened. He doesn't understand. Give me 10 minutes with him. The next day, Vanessa smuggled me into the veterinary wing during her lunch break. The German Shepherd lay in his cage, brown eyes filled with confusion and grief. I knelt beside the bars, opening my mind to his pain. Images flooded my consciousness, an elderly man's gentle voice daily, walks in the park, the terror of screeching brakes and sudden silence. The dog's anguish cut through me like a blade. His name is Max, I whispered to Vanessa. He's searching for Harold, his owner. He doesn't understand why Harold disappeared. I spoke softly to Max, explaining in the way animals understand that Harold had gone to a peaceful place but wanted Max to heal and find a new family. Slowly the dog's resistance melted, replaced by cautious hope. Vanessa watched in amazement as Max allowed me to examine his injured leg. That's impossible. He nearly bit Dr. Martinez yesterday. Animals recognize genuine care. I looked up at her, struck by the wonder in her expression. He trusts us now. That evening, my phone rang at 11:30. Vanessa's voice sounded panicked. Elena, I need your help. Emergency call, 3 raccoons, possible poisoning. The wildlife center is closed, and they won't survive until morning. Bring them to my apartment. 20 minutes later, Vanessa arrived with a pet carrier containing 3 barely conscious raccoons. Their mother paced frantically inside, chattering distress calls I understood perfectly. We spread towels across my living room floor, transforming it into a makeshift treatment center. Vanessa's medical training took over as she administered IV fluids and medications while I communicated with the mother, calming her enough to help rather than interfere. She's telling me they ate garbage behind Romano's restaurant, I translated, holding the smallest kit while Vanessa examined him. Something sweet that made them sick. Antifreeze poisoning, Vanessa confirmed grimly. We might lose them. We worked through the night, taking shifts monitoring vitals and administering treatments. Around 3 a.m., exhaustion finally claimed us. I found myself curled against Vanessa on my couch, her arm around my shoulders as we dozed between checking on our patients. I woke to her fingers stroking my silver-streaked hair, her brown eyes soft with affection in the pre-dawn light. They're going to make it, she whispered, nodding toward the carrier where all 3 kits were stirring weakly. Thanks to you. I turned in her arms, suddenly aware of how perfectly I fit against her younger, stronger body. Thanks to us. Her thumb traced my cheekbone. We make a good team, Elena. The tenderness in her voice, the way she looked at me like I was something precious, rather than just an older woman, it broke down the last of my defenses. I pressed my lips to hers, and this time neither of us pulled away. The kiss deepened naturally, weeks of careful restraint dissolving in an instant. Vanessa's lips were soft and warm, tasting faintly of the coffee we'd shared hours earlier. Her hand cradled the back of my neck, fingers tangling in my hair as I melted into her embrace. When we finally broke apart, I was trembling. Vanessa, this is complicated. Why? Because you're older? Her brown eyes searched mine. Elena, you're the most fascinating woman I've ever met. Your age isn't a barrier. It's part of what draws me to you. I wanted to believe her, but doubts plagued my mind. People will stare. They'll think terrible things about us both. Let them. She cupped my face in both hands. I don't care what strangers think. Do you? The raccoons chittered softly from their carrier, and I realized dawn was breaking outside my windows. We'd survived our first crisis together, saved 3 lives through combined effort. Maybe Vanessa was right about us making a good team. Over the following days, I found excuses to avoid her calls. The intensity of my feelings scared me more than any judgment from others. At 52, I shouldn't be falling this hard for someone I'd known less than a month. But Vanessa refused to let me retreat into isolation. She appeared at my apartment Thursday evening with takeout Chinese food and that radiant smile that made my heart skip. You can't hide from me forever. I'm not hiding, I protested weakly, stepping aside to let her enter. Then why haven't you answered my texts? I couldn't meet her eyes. This is moving too fast. You're brilliant and beautiful, with your whole career ahead of you. You don't need complications from someone like me. Vanessa set the food on my kitchen counter, then turned to face me fully. Elena Johnson, you're the most remarkable person I've ever known. You have a gift that helps heal animals, a compassion that radiates from everything you do. How is loving you a complication? The word loving stopped my breath. Vanessa, I'm falling in love with you, she interrupted, stepping closer. Hard and fast and completely. I know it's crazy, but I also know what I feel. Before I could respond, she kissed me again, this time with passionate urgency that left no room for doubt about her intentions. My resistance crumbled entirely as I kissed her back, pouring weeks of suppressed longing into the connection between us. Come with me, she whispered against my lips. Let's walk on the beach. I want to show you something. The Newark shoreline stretched empty in the moonlight, waves lapping gently at our feet as we strolled hand in hand. Vanessa had been quiet since leaving my apartment, but her grip on my fingers remained steady and sure. I used to come here during medical school when the pressure got overwhelming, she said finally. Something about the ocean puts everything in perspective. It's beautiful. I squeezed her hand. Peaceful. She stopped walking and turned to face me, the moonlight painting silver highlights in her blonde hair. Elena, I need you to understand something. This isn't some youthful infatuation or rebellion against convention. What I feel for you is real. I know, I whispered. I feel it too. Then stop fighting it. Her hands framed my face. Stop telling yourself all the reasons we can't work, and trust what's happening between us. Standing there in the moonlight with this incredible woman looking at me like I hung the stars, I finally surrendered completely. I'm scared, Vanessa. I haven't felt this way in years, maybe ever. Good scared or bad scared? Terrifying, wonderful, life-changing, scared. She laughed softly, pressing her forehead against mine. That's exactly how love should feel. This time, when she kissed me, I didn't hold anything back. I kissed her with all the passion I'd tried to suppress, all the longing I'd pretended didn't exist. Her arms tightened around me as I deepened the kiss, and I knew there was no turning back from this moment. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever obstacles we'd face, I was ready to take this leap with her. The official notice arrived on a rainy Monday morning, slipped under every door in Ocean View Apartments like a death sentence. I read it 3 times before the words fully registered. 30 days to vacate. Building sold to Gonzalez Holdings, no exceptions. This can't be legal, I whispered, staring at the crisp letterhead. My hands shook as I reached for my phone to call Vanessa. She arrived within 20 minutes, her medical scrubs still damp from the rain. How many residents got these? Everyone. Mrs. Patterson upstairs is 87, been here 15 years. The Rodriguez family just had twins. I sank onto my couch, overwhelmed. Where am I supposed to find another place that accepts my animal consultation clients? Vanessa sat beside me, pulling me into her arms. We'll figure this out together. Who's this Magnus Gonzalez? I'd never heard the name, but something about it made my skin crawl. Whoever he is, he's destroying people's lives for profit. There has to be more to this story. Vanessa kissed my temple gently. No one buys a building just to empty it. What's he really after? Over the next few days, rumors flew through the building's hallways. Magnus Gonzalez was a pharmaceutical billionaire, some said. Others claimed he planned to demolish everything for luxury condos. The truth remained elusive, but the fear was real. My animal consultation practice began suffering immediately. Clients worried about scheduling appointments when I might disappear. 3 veterinary offices canceled standing contracts, afraid of disruption. 20 years of building my reputation crumbled in a week. I have news, Vanessa announced Friday evening, arriving at my door with Chinese takeout and grim expression. Good and bad. Bad first. The hospital offered me a transfer to their Philadelphia branch. Better position, more money. She set the food down carefully. They want an answer by Monday. My heart sank. Of course they'd want her elsewhere. Talented young doctors like Vanessa didn't stay in Newark forever. That's wonderful for your career. Elena, look at me. She lifted my chin with gentle fingers. I'm not taking it. What? Why not? Because my life is here. You're here. Her brown eyes blazed with determination. I'm not leaving you to face this alone. Vanessa, be practical. Your career will survive. But I won't survive losing you. She kissed me softly, silencing my protests. We're in this together, remember? That weekend, we began researching Magnus Gonzalez online. What we discovered was deeply disturbing. His pharmaceutical empire had faced numerous lawsuits over animal testing practices. Whistleblowers claimed his laboratories conducted illegal experiments, pushing ethical boundaries for profit margins. Look at this, Vanessa said, pointing to her laptop screen. 3 former employees filed complaints about animal cruelty. All 3 disappeared from social media afterward. A chill ran down my spine. You think he knows about my gift? Think about it. You help animals communicate their pain, their experiences. If someone was hurting them systematically, you'd be the perfect witness. The pieces fell into place with terrifying clarity. Magnus wasn't randomly buying buildings, he was targeting me specifically. But why force me to relocate instead of simply approaching me directly? My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Miss Johnson, we should meet. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Seaside Brew Cafe. Come alone. M. Gonzalez. Vanessa read the message over my shoulder, her grip tightening on my hand. You're not going. I have to. He's holding everyone in this building hostage because of me. Then we go together. I started to protest, but she pressed her lips to mine in a firm, passionate kiss that left no room for argument. When we broke apart, her eyes held fierce protectiveness. Together, she repeated. Whatever he wants, whatever he's planning, we face it together. I nodded, drawing strength from her unwavering support. Tomorrow would bring answers, but also danger. Magnus Gonzalez had made one crucial mistake, though. He'd underestimated the Power of two women in love, willing to fight for their future together. The storm brewing around us was about to break, but at least I wouldn't weather it alone. Magnus Gonzalez looked exactly like the corporate villain from a Hollywood thriller. Silver-haired, immaculately dressed, with cold gray eyes that seemed to calculate profit margins even while ordering coffee. He sat alone at a corner table in Seaside Brew Cafe, radiating the quiet menace of someone accustomed to getting his way. Despite Vanessa's protests, I'd come alone. This was my fight, my responsibility to protect the other residents. She waited outside, ready to call for help if needed. Miss Johnson. His voice carried a slight accent, European maybe. Thank you for coming. I slid into the chair across from him, keeping my expression neutral. What do you want, Mr. Gonzalez? Straight to business. I appreciate that. He sipped his espresso delicately. I want to offer you a position with my research division. Very lucrative, excellent benefits. Doing what? What you do best, communicating with animals. His smile was serpentine. My laboratories require someone with your unique talents to ensure our test subjects remain calm and cooperative. The words hit me like ice water. You want me to help you torture animals? I prefer the term advanced medical science. Your gift could minimize stress during necessary procedures, improving data quality. He leaned forward. $1 million annually, plus relocation expenses to our California facility. Absolutely not. Magnus didn't seem surprised by my refusal. I thought you might say that initially. Perhaps this will change your mind. He slid him a manila folder across the table. Inside were photographs. Vanessa leaving the hospital, entering my building, kissing me on the beach. My blood ran cold. Beautiful young woman. Promising medical career. His voice remained conversational, but threat lurked beneath every word. It would be tragic if questions arose about her judgment. Late-night visits to older women's apartments. Questionable decision-making under emotional stress. You son of a... Language, Ms. Johnson. He closed the folder calmly. I'm simply pointing out that Dr. Lewis has much to lose. Medical licenses are fragile things. I wanted to lunge across the table and strangle him, but forced myself to remain seated. What makes you think I won't go to the authorities? With what evidence? A businessman making a legitimate job offer? Magnus chuckled. I own 3 research facilities, employ hundreds of people. You're a woman who claims to talk to animals. The casual dismissal stung because it echoed every doubt I'd ever had about my credibility, but his mistake was underestimating my resolve. I need time to consider your offer. Of course. 1 week should be sufficient. He stood, straightening his expensive suit. I'll have the contracts prepared. Your neighbors can remain in their homes once you accept. After he left, I sat frozen for several minutes, processing the encounter. Magnus wasn't just targeting me randomly. He'd researched my life thoroughly, identified my vulnerabilities. Vanessa's career, our relationship, the other residents' displacement, all leveraged to force my cooperation. Vanessa appeared at my table within seconds of his departure. What happened? You look terrible. I handed her the folder, watching her face pale as she examined the photographs. He wants me to help with animal testing. If I refuse, he'll destroy your career and keep the building sale going. Let him try. Her voice was fierce. I don't care about my reputation if it means protecting innocent animals. Vanessa, think about what you're saying. Your medical license will survive whatever lies he spreads. She grasped my hands tightly. Elena, we can't let him win. Those animals in his laboratories need someone to speak for them. That evening, we researched Magnus's facilities online, uncovering disturbing patterns. Former employees described systematic cruelty masked as legitimate research. Animals kept in deplorable conditions, subjected to unnecessary procedures, their suffering ignored or actively encouraged. Look at this, Vanessa said, pointing to a whistleblower's account. Primates developing psychological disorders from isolation, dogs with untreated infections, cats subjected to repeated surgeries. My gift allowed me to imagine their terror, their confusion at human cruelty. The thought of helping Magnus inflict such pain made me physically ill. We have to fight him, I said finally, whatever it costs us personally. Vanessa pulled me into her arms, holding me close, together. But as we held each other in the growing darkness, I wondered if our love would be strong enough to survive the storm Magnus Gonzalez was bringing down on us. Vanessa's plan was brilliant in its simplicity. While I used my gift to gather evidence from Magnus's laboratory animals, she would organize the medical community against his unethical practices. Together, we'd expose his empire before he could destroy our lives. The first step required infiltrating his Newark research facility. Vanessa discovered through hospital connections that Magnus held quarterly tours for potential investors showcasing his cutting-edge research methods. She registered us under false names, claiming I was a potential donor interested in animal welfare programs. Remember, act impressed by everything. Vanessa coached me as we approached the sterile glass building. We need access to the animals before anyone gets suspicious. The tour guide, a nervous young technician named David, led our group through spotless corridors lined with viewing windows. Behind the glass, I saw them, dozens of animals in various stages of experimentation. Their collective anguish hit me like a physical blow. A rhesus monkey in the first lab pressed his face against the glass as we passed. His thoughts flooded my mind. Loneliness, confusion, pain from repeated injections. He'd been isolated for months, developing the psychological disorders Vanessa had read about. "This is our primate cognition study," David explained cheerfully. "We're testing new antidepressants on subjects with induced depression." I struggled to keep my expression neutral, while the monkey's desperation echoed in my head. Beside me, Vanessa squeezed my hand supportively, sensing my distress. The dog laboratory was worse. Beagles with surgical scars whimpered in cramped cages, their eyes dull with resignation. One female, heavily pregnant, cowered as we approached her enclosure. "She's carrying puppies that will be born into this nightmare," I whispered to Vanessa when David's attention shifted. "We'll stop it," she promised quietly. "Document everything you can." Over the next hour, I opened my mind to dozens of tortured animals, absorbing their testimonies of cruelty and neglect, untreated infections, unnecessary surgeries, psychological conditioning through starvation, and electric shocks. Magnus's laboratories were chambers of systematic abuse. The evidence was overwhelming, but getting it to the authorities would be challenging. Who would believe a woman claiming to translate animal thoughts? That evening, we worked frantically to compile our findings. Vanessa cross-referenced medical journals, finding discrepancies between Magnus's published research and the actual conditions we'd witnessed. Her scientific credibility would legitimize my supernatural insights. "This study claims the primates showed minimal stress indicators," she said, pointing to a recent publication. "But you documented severe psychological trauma in the same subjects." "The monkey I connected with has been self-harming," I confirmed grimly, pulling out his own fur, refusing food. Classic signs of severe depression. We were so focused on our research that we didn't hear the footsteps in the hallway until my apartment door exploded inward. 3 men in dark suits entered without invitation, their leader flashing some kind of badge. "Elena Johnson, you're coming with us for questioning regarding industrial espionage." Vanessa stepped protectively in front of me. "She hasn't done anything wrong. You can't just—" "Actually, we can." The man's smile was coldly professional. "Mr. Gonzalez has security footage of your unauthorized recording during today's facility tour." My heart sank. Of course Magnus had anticipated our move. He'd allowed us to gather evidence, then used our investigation against us. "Elena," Vanessa said urgently as the men moved to restrain me, "don't say anything without a lawyer." "Dr. Lewis, your medical board hearing is scheduled for Friday," the lead agent informed her casually. "Questions have been raised about your professional judgment and potential substance abuse issues." Vanessa's face went white. "That's impossible. I've never—" "Medical records can be quite revealing when properly interpreted." His smile was Magnus's smile, cold and calculating. "Good evening, ladies." As they led me toward the door, I caught Vanessa's eyes. Despite everything, despite the fear and uncertainty, I saw unwavering love there. Whatever Magnus threw at us, we'd face it together. "I love you," I called out as they pulled me into the hallway. "I love you too," she replied, her voice strong despite the tears streaming down her face. This isn't over. But as the elevator doors closed between us, I wondered if our love would be strong enough to survive Magnus Gonzalez's destruction. The detention cell smelled of disinfectant and despair. For 18 hours, I'd sat on the narrow bench, while Magnus's lawyers threw legal terms around like weapons. Industrial espionage, trespassing, corporate espionage. Charges designed to destroy my credibility before I could expose the truth about his laboratories. But they'd underestimated Vanessa's determination. She appeared in the doorway as my captors were preparing to transfer me to a more permanent facility. Her blonde hair was disheveled, her medical scrubs wrinkled, but her brown eyes blazed with fierce resolve. "The charges are being dropped," she announced, holding up official papers. All of them. Behind her stood a woman I didn't recognize, sharp-suited, authoritative, carrying herself like someone accustomed to courtrooms. "Miss Johnson, I'm Patricia Hartwell, your attorney." Dr. Lewis retained my services. "How?" I asked Vanessa, still stunned by this sudden reversal. "I went to the media." Her smile was triumphant. "Channel 7, Newark Tribune, even contacted that investigative journalist from the Times. Animal cruelty stories sell papers, Elena." Within hours of Vanessa's press conference, Magnus's empire began cracking. Former employees, emboldened by media attention, came forward with documented evidence of illegal practices. Veterinary associations demanded investigations. Stock prices plummeted as investors fled. But Magnus wasn't finished with us. The attack on Vanessa's reputation was swift and vicious. Anonymous tips flooded the medical board with claims about her mental state, allegations of drug abuse, questions about her relationship with an unstable older woman. Her hospital suspended her pending investigation. "They're trying to make me choose between my career and you," she told me that evening. As we sat in my apartment, surrounded by legal documents and newspaper clippings, "Magnus thinks if he destroys me professionally, you'll crumble." "Maybe I should take his offer," I said quietly. "End this before he ruins your life completely." Vanessa's response was to pull me into her arms and kiss me with passionate intensity. Her lips moved against mine with desperate urgency, as if she could convince me through physical connection what words couldn't convey. When we broke apart, both breathless, she framed my face in her hands. "Elena Johnson, if you even think about surrendering to that monster, I'll never forgive you. Your medical license will be restored once the truth comes out." She pressed her forehead to mine. "I'd rather be unemployed and honest than successful and complicit in torture." That night, we made love with the desperate passion of two people who might lose everything. Vanessa's hands traced every line of my body as if memorizing me, her whispered endearments echoing in the darkness. Our connection transcended the physical, becoming something deeper and more profound than I'd ever experienced. Afterward, as she slept peacefully in my arms, I listened to her steady breathing and made my own vow. Magnus Gonzalez would not win. Whatever it took, however long the fight lasted, I would protect this woman who'd sacrificed everything for love and justice. The next morning brought unexpected reinforcements. Patricia Hartwell arrived with 3 boxes of evidence and a satisfied smile. "The FBI raided Magnus's facilities yesterday," she announced. "Based on your testimonies and corroborating evidence from whistleblowers, they found conditions even worse than you described." Vanessa grabbed my hand tightly. "The animals?" "Being transferred to reputable sanctuaries and veterinary facilities for rehabilitation." Patricia's expression softened. "Your work saved hundreds of lives." By afternoon, Magnus Gonzalez was in federal custody, his pharmaceutical empire under investigation by multiple agencies. The charges against both Vanessa and me were formally dismissed. Her medical board hearing was postponed indefinitely, while new evidence cleared her name. Standing on the beach where we'd first kissed, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months, genuine peace. "So what happens now?" Vanessa asked, her arm around my waist as waves lapped at our feet. "Now we continue fighting for those who can't fight for themselves," I replied, turning in her embrace. "Together." She smiled, that radiant expression that had captured my heart from the very beginning. I loved the sound of that. This time, when she kissed me, it tasted like victory. Magnus's arrest triggered a cascade of revelations that rocked the pharmaceutical industry. 3 competing companies faced federal investigations. Dozens of former employees testified. about systematic abuse, and new regulations transformed animal research protocols nationwide. But the most profound changes happened much closer to home. The residents of Ocean View Apartments banded together to purchase their building through a cooperative ownership arrangement. Mrs. Patterson became our unofficial president, organizing monthly meetings where neighbors, who'd barely spoken before, now planned community gardens and shared childcare responsibilities. "Amazing what a common enemy can accomplish," Vanessa observed one morning, as we watched children play in our newly installed playground. She'd been fully reinstated at the hospital, her reputation not only restored but enhanced. Several medical journals published her exposé on pharmaceutical corruption, establishing her as a rising voice in ethical research advocacy. The Philadelphia offer came back twice more, but she declined without hesitation. "My heart belongs in Newark," she told the recruiters, winking at me across the room. Our own collaboration flourished beyond anything I'd imagined possible. The Elena Johnson Animal Communication Center opened 6 months after Magnus's downfall. Funded partially by his seized assets through victim compensation programs, Vanessa took a part-time position, splitting her hours between hospital work and our rehabilitation facility. Incoming rescue, she called out one Tuesday afternoon, carrying a carrier containing 3 traumatized pit bulls from a fighting ring bust. "Police raid in Camden. They specifically requested you." Working with abused animals remained emotionally challenging, but having Vanessa's medical expertise and unwavering support made all the difference. She understood the toll my gift took, holding me through the nightmares that followed particularly difficult cases. Our facility became a model for other rehabilitation centers, combining conventional veterinary medicine with alternative communication techniques. Skeptics gradually converted to believers as our success rates exceeded traditional methods by significant margins. "You're changing how people think about animal consciousness," Vanessa said proudly as we reviewed our 6-month statistics, saving lives and advancing science simultaneously. But the moment I'd been building toward all these months came on a perfect September evening. Vanessa suggested dinner at Seaside Brew Cafe, the place where our story began. She seemed nervous, fidgeting with her coffee cup while making unusual small talk. "Elena," she said finally, her voice trembling slightly, "these past 8 months have been the most incredible of my life. Mine too." I reached across the table for her hand. Instead of taking it, she slid from her chair and dropped to one knee beside our table. The entire cafe fell silent as she pulled out a small velvet box. "I know we can't legally marry yet, but I want the world to know how I feel about you." Her brown eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "Elena Johnson, will you commit your life to mine?" The ring was perfect. A simple gold band with intertwined dolphins, symbolizing communication and partnership. Through my tears, I managed to whisper, "Yes." The cafe erupted in applause as Vanessa slipped the ring onto my finger and kissed me with joyous passion. Several patrons wiped their own eyes, moved by witnessing genuine love triumph over every obstacle. 6 months later, we held our commitment ceremony on the beach where we'd shared our first real kiss. Mrs. Patterson officiated, having gotten certified as a wedding commissioner specifically for our celebration. The rescued animals from our facility served as honored guests, their happy barks and purrs creating the perfect soundtrack. "I never thought I'd find love like this," I said during our private vows, looking into Vanessa's radiant face. "You saved me in ways I didn't even know I needed saving." "We saved each other," she replied, sliding a matching ring onto my finger. "And we'll keep saving others together." As the sun set over the Newark shoreline, painting the sky in brilliant shades of pink and gold, I reflected on the journey that brought us here. A chance encounter with an injured cat had led to the love of my life, a purpose bigger than myself, and a future filled with endless possibilities. Vanessa pulled me close for our first kiss as committed partners, and I heard something I'd never experienced before. The collective joy of every animal we'd helped, their grateful voices joining in celebration of love conquering fear. Our story was just beginning,